starts with J.K. Dobbins. We're minus Mike Weber. We have a glut of backs behind J.K. Dobbins that have some interesting names and track records from high school, but little else to show us. And then there's the mystery that's DeMario McCall, Tony.
Yeah, and you hit on something I wanted to talk about, and that's DeMario McCall, who is perhaps the most explosive playmaker on the team, but has never been healthy enough to show everything he can do. I remember a couple years ago at Rutgers, he was rushed for maybe 100 yards on like 10 or 12 carries, and it was the first time he had looked healthy since 2016, and Urban Meyer was like, no, he's not healthy yet. That's not the DeMario who should be running the ball. That's not the DeMario that I know. And this spring, he didn't get to practice because he was still hurt. So if he is healthy, you saw in the Michigan game on the wheel route against Devin Bush, he was very effective there. If he's the backup running back to J.K. Dobbins, he's going to be pushed, healthy or not, by Master Teague, redshirt freshman. So I think those three guys, if they're all healthy, that gives them a good base. And I don't know that you need to go much further than that. There's not going to be necessarily a lot of carries because Justin Fields is going to be in there. Maybe Jalen Gill at H-back will get some carries there. But those three, if DeMario McCall stays healthy, this offense is going to be really, really good.
What's the over-under on the amount of carries that JK has per game on average? Like, is
18.
Is it more than 15? I was going to say 15.
It's going to be more than 15. I mean, last year he only had one game where he had more than 20 carries, I believe, and that was that that overtime game against Maryland. Going back to his freshman year, he had 3 games where he had more than 20 carries, or maybe I have the years flipped. So he doesn't normally go over 20, but I'm going to say like 22. I think he's going to be a little bit more of the bell cow out there, that they're going to run him more. They're not going to be alternating series or anything like that, because DeMario, with the flashes we've seen, is still more of a spot guy. I think Master Teague is going to sit there and get some of those carries. I don't think they're going to put a red shirt on Marcus Crowley either. I think we're going to see Marcus Crowley get a few carries as well. I think Steel Chambers probably won't see as much opportunity at running back, but I'm going to put the 4 of them there. But I think McCall, or I think that Dobbins is probably going to get a little bit more than 20, because he just needs to work up that lather. I think he needs to have more carries to be able to get there to do that. I mean, yeah, we saw sometimes where he wasn't finishing runs or whatnot. People would be tired. No, I don't think he was just necessarily completely lathered up, as you would say at that point. I think that's going to be important for him to see a little bit more action.
Dobbins had 230 carries last year, so in 14 games, that equates to about 17 or 18 a game. I think we also need to keep in mind that I doubt they're going to throw 561 passes next year.
Right. So, and that's another thing that we really haven't completely uncovered, is we don't really know how much tempo they're going to be running either. We don't know how fast this offense is planning on moving as of right now. And JK has mentioned multiple times that he's getting his conditioning up and he's fully prepared to be the workhorse. He's as Kevin said, he's going to be the bell cow, or whatever euphemism you want to use. But most certainly he's preparing himself for those 20 carries. I'm just curious as to if that's going to be truly distributed as it should be for him. And I think part of what Kevin is mentioning is like this sense of trepidation, knowing that when he goes into the game, he has to feel like he has to make an impact immediately. And, sometimes that will affect your patience as a back. It will affect your vision as a back if you're too overwhelmed as trying to see these holes the way you should. So in my opinion, I think it's going to allow him to relax in the speed of the game. And if he gets that amount of carries, he's going to be able to be more explosive if his conditioning is really what he says it's going to be.
Yeah, and Ryan Day said last month he wants JK to turn more 3-yard runs into 5, more 5-yard runs into 7. And JK talked about, last year he was looking for the home runs. And I think maybe when he realizes he's getting hit at the 3, he knows that's not going to be a home run, and maybe he wasn't running as tough as he should have last year. And as Kevin says, J.K. Dobbins said the same thing last year. He does better when he gets more carries.
Yeah.
And we saw that in his freshman year in 2017. So I'm is 230 carries? Is that Is that the over under this year? That's.
I mean, the other thing is, are they going to be able to run a whole lot? And again, I'm bringing up tempo just kind of randomly because it just hit me. But I don't know that they have the depth on the offensive line to be able to run as much tempo as they had maybe in the past, or maybe that they were projecting in the past.
Well, I think that they're going to have the depth. I mean, I think that they're going to be deeper. I mean, there's going to be guys that are going to be short on experience. But, back to the tempo question, Ryan Day was asked about that in Chicago at Big Ten Media Days. And he made it sound like it was going to be a lot more of spot tempo when it was necessary. I mean, a lot of that's coach speak. And, if he has a plan, he's certainly not going to share it with the conference media at that point. But he was, pretty straightforward in saying there will be times we want to do tempo. There's sometimes it's going to be a changeup, but there are going to be some times where the defense might be gassed and we're not going to want to run tempo because if we go 3 and out, they're going to have to march right back out there again.
Yeah, he said at one point he said, we're not Scott Frost, we're not Nebraska running the tempo. So it will be interesting, how they handle that. It would be strange if they don't move as fast as they did last year. When you remember, like Urban Meyer, when he was hired, he didn't want to go up tempo, no huddle. He talked about, I want my quarterback to get in the huddle, and I want his team to see my quarterback's eyes. And then Tom Herman gets there, and he's like, no, we're not doing that. And it would be strange to see them maybe slow down a little bit when you have this offensive guru like Ryan Day, bringing in Mike Yursich, having Kevin Wilson. I don't expect them to be slow by any means.